This is the mop up for June 3rd, 2023. On June 2nd, 2023, President Biden delivered an address from the Oval Office on the national debt. Here is the speech Joe Biden should have delivered. My fellow Americans, one word describes the story of this country: more. More land, more freedom, more people, more wealth, more democracy, more. There's nothing wrong with more if you're able to answer the question, more of what? What do you want more of? This week, my Republican colleagues and I negotiated a debt ceiling bill that preserved Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. We gave more to our military, but we gave less in food stamps. To prevent a default, I agreed to throw as many as 170,000 Americans off food stamps. I didn't enter politics to do that. As president, I am forced to make difficult decisions, and I did something I will regret to my dying breath. I passed a budget on the backs of our nation's neediest. I am ashamed, and I'm not asking for your forgiveness. Instead, I will, moving forward, try to earn your forgiveness. And of course, my Lord and Savior's forgiveness, who is looking down on me right now and saying, "Joey, all those years in Catholic school must have taught you nothing." Tonight, I sign this new debt ceiling bill into law. The national debt will not be an issue until January of 2025, after I sign this bill into law. And so I would like to now use that time to begin a conversation about money, how we spend it, and on whom. As president, I am given extraordinary powers. With the press of a button, I can destroy the planet. Because of emergency powers granted to me by Congress, I can lock anyone up and destroy anyone's life. And yet, despite all those powers invested in me, I lack the power to act unilaterally to improve the lives of my fellow citizens. Yes, I can excuse all student loan debt with the stroke of a pen, but that would end up challenged in the courts. There are laws that allow me to help anyone living in an environmental disaster zone by putting them on Medicare no matter what age. But my power to improve your lives is limited by the courts, Congress, the Constitution, and most importantly, the political will of the American people. Now, my job as president is to read the polls. And while I see that this country leans towards a more progressive government, it doesn't lean quite hard enough. And that's where I need your help. I need the political will to move us in the right direction. Medicare for all makes sense, but polling shows the American people are only in favor of Medicare for all once it's been properly explained to them. Most Americans favor increases in Social Security. They favor free tuition at all public universities. They want free universal daycare. They want us to raise the minimum wage to a livable one. Most Americans want the wealthy to pay a greater share of the taxes. Most Americans want our government to spend less on police and prisons and more on what makes police and prisons unnecessary. That's what most Americans believe. It says so in the polling, but only in a special kind of polling, a polling where it has been first explained to them. And so, my fellow Americans, I need your help. Until now, in January of 2025, I need all of you to spend 1 hour each day to focus on your finances and our country's. And what I need you to understand is that your finances are nothing like your government's. I need you to wash clean from your mind the lie you've been fed that the government, like a family, must live within its means. That is a lie. That is a lie spread by the wealthiest people in America who don't want to pay taxes. And because they don't want to pay taxes, they want the government to cut spending. Because if the government cuts spending, it won't ask the rich to pay their fair share of taxes. Now, here's the important thing you need to understand. The wealthiest people in America who control both parties and all the economists and the universities where they teach, they say they want a balanced budget, but they really don't. If America balances its budget or runs a budget surplus, that means our Treasury Department stops issuing bonds. You see, when we run up a debt like the $33 trillion debt we owe right now, that means we issue $33 trillion in Treasury notes. And rich people, along with institutional investors who invest for rich people, they buy those Treasury notes because those notes pay interest and they're guaranteed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. I am signing this new debt ceiling bill tonight mostly to signal to the world that a United States Treasury note is one of the safest places you can put your money. Thanks to the 14th Amendment, America will never default on our debt. The wealthy want us to be in debt because they want a safe place to put their money so they can collect interest on it. And that's the difference between your government and your family. The economy will not grow unless the government has debt. And unlike your family, the government pays its debt by forcing everyone in the country to pay the government each year on April 15th. Government finances are nothing like family finances. Families go bankrupt. The U.S. government does not. Families have no guarantee that money will be coming in. The U.S. government does. So stop thinking the government must live within its means. The government can print the money it doesn't have. You and I and everyone else can't. So now that we know the government is completely different from a family, let's talk about our $33 trillion debt. Too much debt is a bad thing. Well, where did this debt come from? $7 trillion of it came from Donald Trump's tax cuts for the rich. The rest of the debt, well, that came from George W. Bush's tax cuts for the rich and Ronald Reagan's tax cuts for the rich. We were lied to, and we're still being lied to by Republicans who claim lowering taxes for the wealthy will balance budgets because the wealthy will create so many jobs our Treasury Department will be overflowing with new income taxes. We gave that a try since Reagan took office, and all those tax cuts did, all Reagan's tax cuts, all George W. Bush's tax cuts, and all Donald Trump's tax cuts did is increase our debt to $33 trillion. The truth is, wealthy people don't create jobs with their money. The truth is they hoard it, buying Treasury notes. Whether you like it or not, the government creates jobs by pouring money into the economy through tax credits, entitlement programs, and government contracts. I can assure you, my fellow Americans, there is not a single so-called self-made billionaire who didn't make his fortune through some sort of government subsidy or government contract. The very same people who demonize government spending are the very same people who benefit from its largesse. Think of all the Republicans who voted against my student loan relief bill while they themselves were the recipients, the beneficiaries of Paycheck Protection Program loans that they never had to pay back. So, my fellow Americans, what is an economy? An economy is a battle among special interests, all fighting for a slice of government spending. It is a battle among special interests fighting over how expensive or how cheap the Federal Reserve will make it to borrow money. And in this glorious struggle, all sorts of special interests fight it out in the public square, making their case for why they deserve the government's largesse. That's how a democracy is supposed to work. But the American democracy, it doesn't work. And our economy doesn't work, at least not for everyone. So why is that? Because the one voice not heard in this epic struggle for government largesse is the American citizen. The people who work and vote and pay their taxes don't have anyone speaking for their fair share of the pie. As you all know, I am not a Marxist, but I do not believe in a free market. Free markets don't exist because all markets are manipulated by the rich and the powerful, and the easiest way to manipulate the market is to control the government. Those who control the government control government spending. And so we have now reached a point where the government is in the control of the rich, which means the tax code and government spending is dictated by the rich. How else can you explain this budget deal I'm about to sign, where poor people must work for food stamps, but children of billionaires can inherit their first $20 million without paying a single cent in taxes? The conversation about government spending has been contaminated by economists and politicians who are paid mightily by the richest 1% to lie about so-called government handouts. It is a lie that food stamps makes people lazy. It is a lie that welfare programs create a class of people who'd rather sit on the couch than go find work. The rich don't believe that free money destroys the work ethic. Otherwise, they wouldn't spend billions rewriting the tax code to make sure their idiot children never have to work a day in their life. It is obscene for Speaker McCarthy to insist that making people work for food stamps will give them a sense of self-worth. Jobs are no guarantee of self-worth. As a matter of fact, most jobs strip us of our self-worth so we don't ask for a raise. Self-esteem isn't found only in our work or our net worth. Sometimes it is found in our family, an art project, or a garden that nobody even knows about. In the end, the economy is what we say it is. Jobs and salaries are based on what we value as a society. I keep a bust of Robert F. Kennedy in my Oval Office as a reminder of what this country is supposed to be. Robert F. Kennedy was a mean son of a bitch. Born to immense wealth, he never had to work a single day in his life. But he worked. He was ambitious, driven, made enemies, and early on in his career, when it came to politics, he was a street fighter. He never had to worry about food, housing, or education. It was all handed to him by his rich father. And that freed him up to fight the world. Early on, he fought the wrong fight, siding with Joseph McCarthy and ruining the lives of American communists. Or when he took on the Teamsters, who at the time were no more corrupt than the companies whose freight they carried. But the fire was in his belly despite all the inherited wealth. All the handouts he received from his rich father didn't dull his ambition. And then, after his brother, President Kennedy was assassinated, Bobby Kennedy underwent a profound transformation. In his final years, he learned that all Americans are ambitious, no matter how much or how little they are born with. Because in America, we all want more. We all want the moon. Rich or poor, we all want the moon. Bobby Kennedy realized that free food, free education, a social safety net doesn't make a person dependent, it makes them stronger. In his final years, Bobby Kennedy visited Appalachia, went into the shacks and saw the children, American children, with bloated bellies. He marched with Cesar Chavez and the people who pick our food. And he saw that everyone deserves a handout. Everyone deserves a warm meal, a home, an education, because it makes them stronger, not weaker, stronger. And by making the least among us stronger, it makes our economy stronger and all of us safer. This country, America, has been taken over by the greedy. It started when Ronald Reagan was inaugurated. As I said at the beginning of my speech, America can be defined by the word more. But we are also being run by rich people who want more money than they need. That is sick, because for them, enough is never enough. They have poisoned our government, our environment, our jobs, and our lives. There is nothing wrong with wanting more. Our country was built by people wanting more. My ancestors came to America for more, but enough is enough. Let's remember why we have a government. We have a government to protect all of us, not the richest 1%. We pay our taxes to protect everyone, especially the least among us. Children, the elderly, the unlucky, people born with physical or emotional difficulties. That's the only reason we have a government. The scriptures teach to look after the poor. So why are we punishing them? Between now and the next debate over the debt ceiling in 2025, let's reimagine an American economy and a government that focuses on the bottom. Let's make rock bottom soft enough so all of us can bounce back. Otherwise, what is the point of government, or for that matter, any of us being here? That's the speech Joe Biden should have given on June 2nd, 2023. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. If you're watching me live on YouTube, please join me for office hours. The link is in the description of the show. Every Friday night at 8 p.m., I hold office hours on Zoom. The link is in the descriptions of this show, or you can go to my website and click on office hours. That will take you there, or subscribe to my newsletter. We have a very special event tonight at office hours. We're calling it an evening of filth, politics, and prayers. My special guest is Paul Provenza, director of The Aristocrats. I don't know if you've seen The Aristocrats, but it is a miraculous movie about a filthy joke. Paul Provenza, a brilliant comedy writer, actor, and director of The Aristocrats. We're going to talk about filth, along with comedian Ethan Hirschenfeld, author of Today Is Now, the Reverend Barry W. Lynn, author of Paid to Piss People Off, and The Return of the Professors and Marianne. Professor Marianne Cummings, physicist, joins us along with Professor Adnan Hussein from Guerrilla History. The link to the Zoom event, it's free. It's in the description to this show, or go to my website. Please like this video. Please share it. Please subscribe to my channel. What else? I think that covers everything. Thank you to all the mods who keep the chat room honest. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. I'll see you in a few minutes at office hours.